In this episode, I haul both Willow and Gabby to a Western dressage show and deal with buddy sour issues such as pawing when tied to the side of the trailer, and whinnying, lots of whinnying. I'd like to thank Weaver Leather for sponsoring this episode of the Trail to the World show. We'll put that away in case it rains and someone is not happy in the trailer. Since you're out here, we're gonna say it's Gabby. Gabby's not happy. She's gotta learn some patience. A lot of times people ask me what I do if the horses are pawing when they're tied up, and I give them more opportunity to work themselves through it. So I'm gonna leave Gabby tied up in the trailer while I go ride Willow, and she'll get to explore that pawing doesn't actually result in anything. And then I'll put her through a work cycle and tie her up again. And those work cycles will slowly work back into her mind because she already knows them from home. Well, that was a shorter ride than I intended because Willow pulled the shoe. I'm gonna guess that she sprung it when I turned her out to play in the indoor arena before we left home, and then I got to take it off the rest of the way. The good news is she's totally sound, really good footing in there, so I rode her around lightly. She's been here a bunch of times. We'll call it a day and get Gabby off the trailer. She's still in there banging around. I've swapped them around. Now Willow's in the trailer, slightly upset, but she's usually like that. And Gabby's out here dancing around just a little bit, so let's see what happens now. She's being quieter than I thought she would be now that she's off the trailer. Because I've had Willow at quite a few shows this spring, I know that her talking in the trailer is normal. I think it's a little bit more amplified right now than it has been at the last couple of shows when we were here alone, which tells me that she got used to traveling alone, but now the separation from Gabby has her a little bit more worked up. We're up here at the show arena, and so far, Gabby is fascinated. She also, very interestingly, hasn't spoken yet. She hasn't answered back to Willow, who's calling out to her, so I find that kind of interesting. I wasn't quite sure how that was gonna go. And the arena is quite a bit busier now, but we're gonna go out there and warm up, ride around, and see what Gabby thinks. When I just dismounted after riding in the arena, it was the first time that Gabby has whinnied since we've been out and I've been handling her. So this will be an interesting thing to see. Does she continue to whinny when I'm in contact with her, or predominantly when she's kind of left alone at the trailer? Came back to grab a drink, and Willow's not impressed, and Gabby's whinnying some, and some people would be like, oh no, things are falling apart. There she is, in there, little Willow. Here's Gabby, and when I walk away, I predict one or both of them will start whinnying. Don't stress, keep hauling, keep giving them experience. They'll level out eventually. The one thing I do require is that they respect my aids, and whether that is groundwork or whether that is riding, I do expect that they should still respect my aids even if they're calling for their buddy. Otherwise, all good. Bye, Willow. 2 more days of this, they'll settle in. I'm sitting here on Willow, getting ready to show. Here's Willow. And I realized that if you take me out of a dressage saddle and put me into the Western saddle, my Western habits come back. So my shoulder needs some work in my Western thinking. We clearly have some work to do. Willow might look peaceful, but on the trailer when I take Gabby away, not peaceful at all. Gabby, when I'm riding her, seems fine, but obviously even just tied to the side of the trailer, she's having issues. Good news is you can see Willow's winning stuff. We were high score open today on our second level test 1, but having said that, we still have some work to do, don't we, Gabbies? Gabby's a little antsy. Willow's a little weird when we're on the trailer. It's a process. We'll keep going. Do you do this too? I walk out of the house carrying everything I own in one armload and see if I can make it all the way down to the truck. Oh, happy horse show day. On my YouTube channel, the most viewed video is the Live Like You Were Dying bareback bridleless ride on Roxy. As you might remember, Roxy is the grandmother of Gabby. And one of the biggest questions people have for me is, how did you develop the relationship that you did with Roxy? At the beginning of this year, when I decided to document the process of training Willow and Gabby through to the end of the year and the Western Dressage World Show, I did it because I hoped it would show the steadiness and the refinement of the communication that happens throughout the show year. There are times that I'm tempted to call horse training boring, because good horse training isn't as exciting as it looks when you have that final ride in the show pen. It's the steadiness of the training that makes that big moment possible. All of these experiences that I'm signing up for by going to all of these horse shows are being done because I know that they will stretch all of us. They're going to stretch me as a rider. They're going to stretch Willow out of her comfort zone. They're going to test Gabby in ways that I can't recreate at home. It's all of this testing that's going to show where our weaknesses are and indicate where we need to grow if we're going to become better versions of ourselves. When I go to the shows, I appreciate the ribbons and I really love getting the scores and the feedback from the judges, but they're not my end goal. My end goal is to develop a better understanding of each of my horses in all circumstances. Ultimately, I'm trying to develop a clarity of communication that gives me the feeling of the horse being an extension of my own body by its own free will. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next episode. Later that day, we get home. Have a good roll. Hey, little cute pony. I saw your little cute face. Ready to go home? You're happy you have Gabby? Stall cleaning is always an adventure. You, my little friend, stay away from my cat. Go on. Chipmunk, out of the bucket. I know my cat's out here somewhere, but run for the woods. That's you chirping at me.